Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Tim Schneider with Aegis Learning and this is Leading Edge and the start of our ongoing series about toxic compromises. And as a reminder, a toxic compromise is that kind of agreement or compromise we make that allows certain things to occur that have significant negative impact and negative consequence usually later. So today we're going to talk, this one's going to be a part 1 of 2, and it's all around the acceptance of poor behavior. It is the acceptance of behavior that is not appropriate. And we're going to talk about that in 2 very, very different kind of ways. And the first one is a toxic compromise that we see way too often. And that is, you pay somebody to build widgets. And they're very good at widgets. They make good widgets. They hit all of the expectations and standards that you have for widget making. However, they're a total train wreck to deal with. They're rude to people. They don't interact. They don't communicate. They're not, they're downright mean to other team members. But yet, the toxic compromise is we excuse that behavior. That's the toxic piece because of that core performance. Maybe we don't want to risk losing that core performance, or we certainly don't want to risk losing them and having to try to find and train a new widget maker. Now, the other side, the kind of perverted side of that's even, or is equally as common, is you have somebody that is just an absolute super salesperson. Maybe in the banking industry, in automotive, in real estate, in insurance, whatever it is. But they bring in a lot of revenue, a lot of new customers every single day. Lots, $1 million producer every single month. But they are an absolute ass to deal with. They're rude to folks, they're mean, they're condescending, they treat the other team members just horribly, but yet we make that toxic compromise and allow or permit or excuse the rest of that bad behavior piece because we don't want to risk losing that, $1 million production kind of thing. Now, the problem with that is that's incredibly short-sighted. We're not looking at the rest of casualty. We're not looking at the impact that has, whether you're talking about the widget maker or the high producing salesperson. We're not looking at the casualty and impact that has on everybody else around, including the entire culture of the organization. I got to tell you, allowing those pieces of poor behavior to continue can be incredibly dispiriting, suck the morale and motivation out of other team members. And I got to tell you, you're not going to have much engagement when we allow that in those kind of environments. So the first thing we have to do, which is very preventative, but you can also do it in a curative way too, and that is to define expectations, not just for widget making or not just for sales volume, but define expectations for behavior. I expect you to communicate effectively. I expect you to be polite and courteous. I expect you to be upbeat. I expect you to work well with everybody in this office, with everybody in this operating environment. Craft those expectations with equal importance to those core pieces of performance. The other one is, man, I got to tell you, you just got to arch back and hold those people accountable. You have to have some difficult dialogues and say, look, stop. Yes, I very much appreciate your widget skills. Yes, I very much appreciate your sales volume, but you can't treat people like that. I need you to be courteous. I need you to be respectful. I need you to take that snarkiness and tone out of your voice. You're going to have those kind of dialogues. And I got to tell you, the entire health of your department and your organization can be dependent on you having that. So again, I guess the bottom line on this one, and we're going to hit part 2, which is very similar to this, but the bottom line on this, we cannot allow and we cannot excuse certain pieces of behavior just because they perform well in other areas. Well, I hope you have an absolutely terrific week. I hope you're not surrounded by this type of, toxic compromises, and I hope you're going to, be proactive and or be reacting in an assertive way to get some of those unwound and corrected kind of quick. Have a great week, everybody. I look forward to talking to you next time.